Hi, Stuart. Thank you so much for coming to join me today on my podcast.
That's okay, Imogen. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How about yourself?
I'm fine, thank you. Yes, a little bit cold, but not much we can do about that.
No, not at all. Not at all. Classic England. Well,
Mm.
so the sort of reason for the podcast is to find out a bit about your RPA journey, how you got into it, and I'll just ask you a few questions about your sort of
Mhm.
personal experience, if that sounds good to you.
Yeah. Okay.
Fantastic. So my first question would be, how can you tell me about your career to date and how you sort of got to where you are right now?
Yeah, I mean, my career is kind of in two. I sort of took a job when I was about 18 after I left school. I just did, general office work. Found myself working for a large utility company eventually. It
Hmm.
wasn't really what I wanted to do, so I actually did a degree in music, which I did around my work. So I managed to get my job. So what has a degree in music got to do with robotic process automation? Well, I carried on that vein. I had a failed attempt at being a professional musician, and then I realised that I had to get back into a normal kind of working environment. Otherwise, I was just going to become bankrupt. Literally, I was that close. Unfortunately, I got involved in music just as the credit crunch hit. So
Oh no.
people didn't have much spare money then. So it was no, this isn't really going to work. So what I did, I went back to university and did a postgraduate certificate of education in computer science
Okay.
at the fantastic University of Keele up in Staffordshire, a lovely place.
Mm.
And the idea was I was going to become a teacher, an ICT teacher, teaching computers.
Mm.
And it was a 2-year course. I had to do a year to convert to computer science, which I did, and then there would have been a year of PGCE.
Hmm.
But after the first year of the computer science, I just loved it. I loved the computing side. I kind of had a little bit of a peek into teaching and decided that wasn't for me. It was never going to work. No, I mean, it's a difficult profession. So I managed to secure a job as a data analyst
Hmm.
for a logistics firm, and I was able to do some programming there. So it wasn't just doing data analysis; I was doing a bit of programming as well. I
Yeah.
did that for a couple of years, and then I saw a job advertised for a large utility firm up in the West Midlands as a developer.
Hmm.
So I took my opportunity, managed to get in there. That was in 2014.
Right.
January of 2014, and that's when I was introduced to robotic process automation with the Blue Prism platform. Didn't know what it was. Got to be completely honest, I had no idea what it was. So I'd done a lot of kind of what you call traditional programming to that point, and I carried on doing that. But
Yeah.
also I got into robotic process automation, and soon saw the sort of parallels between traditional, I suppose you call it traditional programming, and robotic process automation.
Hmm.
So I think because of that, I think I was able to leverage more power from it than people who just done RPA and nothing else.
Yeah.
And it really whetted my appetite. And I stayed there for 4 years, and I sort of worked through and kind of became the go-to person, for advice on development. So I naturally became like a lead developer, I suppose. Not
Hmm.
officially entitled, but practically.
Yeah.
Then I moved on to a large French bank who were based in Solihull in the West Midlands, and went there as a developer. But because we were implementing RPA, I kind of fell into the role of an RPA solution architect, sort of by accident, really, because someone had to do it. So I worked closely with their infrastructure guys and learned a lot about infrastructure. I mean, a huge amount.
Mm.
So I did naturally become an RPA solution architect, and also we were working alongside a partner, and they had an RPA solution architect on site.
I see.
So I learned a lot from that person. So by the end of that sort of 2 years with that company, I was an RPA solution architect. I then moved on into consultancy
Hmm.
for a year. That started the beginning of last year, working as an RPA solution architect. Real rotten time to join any business because we just moved straight into a lockdown. I've been there 2 months and just under 3 months, and we were locked down. Made things very
Yeah.
difficult. Made things very difficult. It was very difficult for this particular firm in the market because they were establishing their RPA
Oh, they
service
were
offering.
starting it. Okay.
Yeah, so it was, too many factors were sort of negative factors making it very difficult. Did that for a year. The service line hadn't really moved forward. It was just a really awkward time. And then at the
Hmm.
beginning of this, I was lucky. Beginning of this year, I managed to secure another role with a firm. So set up a centre of excellence and implementing RPA from scratch as a solution architect, but now with all this added experience. So that's essentially, really quickly how I'm in this position I'm in now as an RPA solution architect.
Oh, that's great. And I think it's interesting to hear sort of, obviously you did your music degree at the beginning, and then how you sort of came to RPA. It's not maybe the most traditional route, I guess, compared to others.
No, but music and computing are very similar. They're both kind of mathematical, and it's about patterns and pattern recognition, and there's an element of mathematical symmetry in there. So they're not actually too dissimilar. Both do actually require a sort of artistic input as well. People might think that's kind of with computers is unusual, but it's not. An eloquence and an artistic input can make for a much smoother and nicer sort of development.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Great. And I mean, so obviously we know that like 70% of RPA programs sort of fail initially. Do you think that is due to sort of big businesses focusing solely on like the potential end goal and like cost saving instead of focusing on, directly on each and every individual automation at the start? What do you say?
Well, from my perspective, purely as a developer, and more on the technical side, although I am involved with the business, and I do see the situation. Really, from my context, I think it's very difficult to really understand why they fail, because if it was exactly known why, then companies wouldn't fail. They just wouldn't fail.
It would keep happening.
But unfortunately they do. I think it's a combination of factors. I mean, initially you've got to have engagement of IT, because you're going to require infrastructure engineers, network engineers, data center owners. There's a whole host of people who need to be lined up. Because they're going to provide you with the infrastructure to be able to do what you're going to do. And resources, in my experience within IT, is always an issue. Getting resource when you need it's a big problem, because these guys are under massive demand. So that can delay things. And I think the problem is if businesses are looking for return on investment at specific points in time, that can delay the project 3 to 6 months quite easily. So already the return on investment is under threat at the time it was meant to be coming in. So straight away, you could be under pressure. That's certainly a factor. So you've got to be very, very well planned. It's imperative to have a good project manager and someone that knows the way around IT. And around the business, because that is key. Getting those people lined up. So if you've got that in place, that's gonna be a positive. It's going to be a positive towards success. Choosing the right platform. Look at the kind of work that you're going to be automating. Make sure that you've got the right platform to match it. If you've got the wrong platform, it's going to be difficult. I mean, you can more or less make any platform do anything. But it's going to be better if you've got the right platform for the job from the start. What you don't have to do is start manipulating and integrating loads of different types of technologies just to get to where you want to be.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, integration itself, there's another thing. The systems you're integrating with, have you done, full feasibility studies of all these systems? How easily is it to integrate? How are you going to integrate? What do you need to do to achieve what the outcome is? I mean, there's lots of factors, and I think also just having decent developers. If you've got a lot of people that aren't particularly skilled developers, they're just kind of, it's not fair to say average, but maybe what you need is a mix of development experience. So you need someone who's a true programmer as well, I believe, anyway. You need someone that's going to make the decisions. So it's a mixture of things, isn't it, really? But I think key is good project manager. Make sure that people are lined up. Make sure you set the expectation realistically with the business. Don't make promises you can't keep. Get the right developers in. Get the right platform in. And follow a very. You need to have a really robust plan. You've got to be very, very organised.
Sure.
And also, you just need to be personable with people. You need to be friendly. With the business. I mean, they don't understand infrastructure necessarily, or the ins and outs of the platform you're using. And to be quite frank, they're not interested. So you've got to communicate on the right level with people.
No, definitely. I mean, and also what you're saying about developers actually sort of like leads me on to my next question. I was going to say, because we know obviously the main sort of vendors now offer like a variety of online accreditations for people to become developers. do you think the sort of the accessibility of these qualifications make it sometimes more difficult for like you guys, or in your past experience, to find developers that have had sort of extensive commercial experience? I know obviously you can see from people's CVs, but if you've done a few accreditations but maybe not had the 3 to 4 years, like walking the walk, as you say, in a company, does that make it more difficult?
Well, I think that's the thing. You need to do your research. I think when we look to bring on developers, okay, the accreditation's really just kind of formalising the fact that you use a particular platform.
Yeah.
All the major platforms have got their own training academies, as many of them call them, and they are good. To be fair, there's some really good resources online. That's only half the story, of course, because you do need that commercial experience. So I think really, if you're bringing people in, you've just got to really ask the right questions of the people coming in. I mean, just to have, say, 6 months experience with the accreditation, it's okay as a kind of junior entry level, but if you're expecting sort of senior, that person to be a senior, I mean, some people in that position will apply for senior positions, but I think it's difficult for someone to prove to me that they've got the relevant experience, from 6 months. It really, you need to have relevant commercial experience. It doesn't have to necessarily be 3 or 4 years. I mean, it depends how switched on a person is, how they apply themselves to to the experience they've got. I mean, between 1 and 2 years could be enough, but I think you've just got to really ask the right questions of the people that you're bringing in. I think it's good to have accreditations in the market, and it does formalise. And to be fair, to pass these accreditations, they're not easy. They're not easy. You can't just rock up and do them. It's not that simple. You've got to put the work in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it is a good indication of a certain level of skill, but I think you do need to ask the right questions when you're bringing people in to make sure they've got commercial experience, because working through examples in during a training course is one thing, and then doing it something for real in the business is completely different.
Yeah,
completely. The expectation is huge, in reality. So yeah.
Two different things. And my final question as well for Stuart is basically, what would be your sort of one tip for anyone who has just like started their RPA journey from a business and a tech side?
I think really it's choose the right platform for you. I mean, there are 4 major platforms in the market that everyone should know about. They should know which ones they are.
Yeah.
You need to do your research, make sure you understand the technologies for each of those platforms, decide which one suits you, which one is, I know we use the word trending, but which one is making the most inroads at the moment in the market, where are the most opportunities, and then really do the work, do the training courses, and also if you've not got programming experience, then do a little bit of it. I mean, Visual Studio's free, download it, get into a bit of C# because it will just really help.
Yeah,
a little bit of
your profile, I guess.
It will. I mean, I know that they're all called low code, no code platforms, but you can't beat having that inside knowledge as well, because it's still development. So, my advice would be choose the right platform for you, for the right level of kind of programming that you want to do. I mean, some are more detailed than others, but get a little bit of coding experience. It shouldn't take long, and there's loads of courses online for free.
Yeah.
And I think it's just practice. Just keep on practicing. I mean, pretty much anyone can do it if they're determined and they're focused on wanting to do it. I think people think that there's something magical about development. That you have to have a certain aptitude, but anyone can learn to have that aptitude. It's at the end of the day, it's logic. I mean, everyone makes logical decisions every second of the day. We're making logical decisions about our life.
Yeah.
So it's just about applying that to a situation. It's really experience. I mean, when I first started, my developments weren't very nice. Weren't very nice to look at. Weren't very efficient. But you soon learn.
It's like anything, isn't it? Of course, practice and makes perfect. Of course.
Most time you learn the hard way, but I think that's really the only way to learn sometimes.
No, but absolutely.
It's practice. Choose the right platform, practice, and always try and be better than what you are.
Yeah.
You're never the finished article. There's no way I am. There's always something to learn. Well,
yeah, of course.
There's lots to learn.
Absolutely. Well, no, that's perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Stuart. I hope you've enjoyed our little chat, and thanks again.
That's okay. Thank you very much.
No, I'll speak to you soon. Take care.
Cheers then.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.